about that, and also another module, kind of an almost bonus module on some more advanced tools and just some things to keep in mind when you're cutting a project. So there'll be a bit of theory, a few more techniques, things like that. So click on through to the next lecture once you're ready. Okay, we've covered a lot so far, and I really just want to say well done, first off. I know that can seem condescending, but I genuinely mean it. I teach this face to face all the time. That's my full-time job, and I see how difficult it is for people to reach this point. So if you've gotten this far, you're doing very, very well. It's a big time commitment. It requires a lot of effort to sit down and learn all of these new things. And if you've come at this with no prior experience, then there's a lot that we've covered by now. There really is a lot of new stuff. And if you've made it here, then you've done really, really well. We're just going to talk a little bit about what we've learned and also where we're going in this course, especially once the later modules have been made and published. So let's just recap what we've covered in this module. So the cut panel is best used to quickly cut first passes together, also to quickly cut together vlogs, basic interviews, things on location. It's that kind of a tool. I personally like to use it to cut select reels, but we're going to do that in the next project. I know I've mentioned those a lot up until this point, but we really are going to do a lot of work with those once the next project is up and published around the end of June 2020. There's limited audio functionality in the cut panel. We really just have that, one volume slider, but we can use all of our audio effects, and as we've seen, we can also access the inspector on applied audio effects to get all of those controls out. So you can do a little bit, it's just there's not a huge amount of easy control without going a little bit deeper. The video tracks behave oddly, only the first one trims, and on higher tracks your tools start to behave a little bit strangely. They snap to the wrong edit points, they do the wrong thing. So it's best to keep it pretty basic. It's best to most of the time stick with our good friend Shift F12 and only use the other editing functions when we have a call to do so. And we've also gone through the source tape, how it lets us quickly review a whole bin of rushes, which is a nice idea, but I believe is not yet finished. I think the absence of metadata filtering, a proper search, and smart bins from the cut panel is a big problem, and I think once those more advanced functions become integrated in later versions of Resolve, fingers crossed, that it's going to become much more powerful and that we will be spending a lot more time in it. Because I don't use the cut panel outside of select reels right now. I just use the edit panel. So it's going to take a bit more quality of life. It's going to take a few more versions, I think, before it really comes into its own. But, maybe the kind of thing you're cutting is best served by it, in which case, great. Maybe it's not, in which case, that's fine. You know how it works now, but there's always the edit panel. So, if you want to continue your edit, absolutely fine, go ahead, and you are free to do that. I encourage you to do as much practice and work as is possible on these projects and on your own, obviously. Do keep in mind that the audio problems, especially with the wind noise, are very, very difficult to overcome, and it's unlikely that in your second or third pass you will get rid of them completely. That's okay. That is, again, the point of this is to give something over to the audio person and then they can finish the job. Maybe after the edit has been done, that's going to lead to some what we call ADR recordings, additional dialogue recordings, where we get the actors back together in a voiceover studio and they actually record synced voiceover to their own lines, and we put that on there, and then the sound guy or the sound person will build their soundscape around that, and that's how we overcome that kind of a problem. But that's not something that we can do in our offline edit. That comes later. Now, the next module contains some techniques and bits of theory that will help you with your second and third pass, but I'm not going to demonstrate the second and third pass from beginning to end this time. You've just been through all of that with Gym Candy, and this is really just about giving you a grounding in the cut panel. We're going to do the whole shebang in the next project when that's done, but this was just about introducing you to the cut panel, getting some good practice, some muscle memory on that, and then we're going to use it properly. We're going to cut a proper select reel with it in the next project. So the next module, the immediate next module is a bonus containing some tricks to smooth out and edit. That's obviously been published right now, but the module afterwards is our next big project, and this is a really good one. If you've taken the color grading course, which is my other color grading course, and you don't have to in order to continue, that's absolutely fine. But if you have taken it, you'll recognize the next project as PC01, which is the first real grading project from that course. I went back to the client and I got clearance to get all of the rushes and audio from that so that we can actually work on it as an editing project as well. So if you've come here from the color grading course, you will recognize this project. And we're going to go into the editing process that was used in order to pull that together. So that might be quite an interesting, different perspective on this project. We're going to use the cut panel to cut a select reel, as I've said loads of times by now, and then we're going to edit from those reels to make a corporate interview project that's a few minutes long. I seem to remember PC01 is between 4 and 5 minutes long, but I'll have to actually check the final edit and see where we landed on that one. And we're going to learn how to work with multiple timelines open as well. What we can do is we can cut a select reel onto a timeline, and then we can open 2 timelines at once and cut from one onto the other. It's called a pancake edit. And so we're going to do a lot of pancake editing. We're going to do a lot of select reel stuff in the next project, which will be nice because it's a completely different approach and different technique to building an edit. So, with all this out of the way, well done again. You've done really well to get here, and I really, really do hope that this has all been good for you. If you have any big problems, please do let me know. If you let me know, I can try to fix them. But in the meantime, I will be working on the next module on PC01, which I hope to have published towards the end of June 2020. So, I hope you have fun with working, and once the next module is ready, click on through to the next lecture.